Spencer Uncensored, episode 66. I'm out here in a little park. I figured I'd do something a little different today. So the sun is behind me, so that's not going to do well for the lighting. So maybe I should turn. Hey, how about that? Well, I'm going to walk this way first. I'm in a park not far from my house. Really cool stuff around here, and it's pretty active. So if you hear noises, I apologize for that. That's a new house they're building right here on the St. Johns River. Pretty nice. It's a pretty house. Anyway, welcome to another episode of Spencer Uncensored. Last week, we talked about the difference between counseling, consulting, and coaching. We went through that whole thing last week. So if you've got time and you want to know, you've always wondered kind of how the difference is and how they interact with each other, well, then you can go and watch the one from last week. That's episode 65. And by the way, if you didn't know this, you can go to YouTube. Almost every episode is eventually put on YouTube so that the public can grab it from there. We just have it here in this Facebook group so that you guys have a little private group that you guys can talk and communicate. So, in any event, tonight, a lot of progress has been made in the Spencer Combs resources world. We've been doing a lot of work on stuff, and I think I told you guys last week that I had invested in a program. And now we are doing a lot of behind the scenes work, getting ready for you guys and to take this unshakable message all over the United States. That's the plan, at least. And so I'm going to need all of your help. I'm going to need your help in making this happen. Which, by the way, anybody that wants to chime in, say anything, feel free to drop in, say hello. If you got questions or you coming into this later on as a recording, you're more than welcome to drop questions and comments here, and I will most likely see them, and I'll be glad to, help you in any way that I can. Right now, well, let me give you some backdrop. We have been talking about doing the, writing Unshakable Drive, and that has been quite the journey in understanding what moves people. And today we had a bit of a breakthrough with that. I'm not going to share that here because I think I need to draw it out for you and let you see it and how those four factors work together and how we create drive. What I have figured out is that I'm going to have to take a step backwards and probably draw out the entire map of what I'm currently calling the path to progression. I got to come up with a name. I don't know if that's going to be it or if we're just going to use Unshakable Journey or Unshakable Path. The unshakable framework. There's a lot of things that I could use for that. So I'm more than interested in hearing, your suggestions and thoughts on that. Good to see you, Brandy. Anyway, so with that being said, I got to come up with a name for it all because it's, you have to have a title for this stuff. You can't just throw out there some randomness. Unshakable Journey or Path to Progression is what I'm currently looking at. So, love to have your feedback or anything like that. Right now, what I want to do is kind of share with you what that path actually is. So if you got pen and paper, write this down. Now, if you've been hanging out with me for a while, you've heard all this together. But what I want to do tonight is kind of lay out the whole thing for you so you get a better sense about how all this works together and what makes this particularly unique. Because there's a lot of coaches out there. There's a lot of programs, and so many of them are extremely useful to help you get where you want to go. So, I don't want to be a part of the noise. I don't want to be just one more person having this conversation and going from organization to organization and speaking and training and teaching about the unshakable path. I want to help you guys. I want to show you what makes it particularly unique and how it's useful for you personally. And I actually think there's a lot of coaches that I could work collaboratively with because the material that I have does not necessarily compete, if you will. Competition is really just not necessarily the right word. We don't, people aren't going to need to make the choice of one or the other most of the time. As a matter of fact, if they take on what I'm doing and plus it with someone else's direction on how to do something, then they're going to have an unbelievable situation. So if you're a coach and you hear this and you start hearing this path I'm about to lay out, then you might find out that we should be on the same stage together and have a discussion. Anyway, getting back to this, the path to progression, this is how it's kind of unfolded after working through this endlessly, like day in and day out forever. I would like to say 2 decades, but really it was about 2018 when I started really graphing it out, right? I have always used the conversation around mechanics, mindset, and movement. Those 3 pieces have been around since the inception of my coaching back in 2005. So it's not anything new, where that's concerned. But what I have started doing in 2018 is start to unfold it in a way that actually sees a very critical element that's necessary. And I've talked about it for a long time too, but I've started actually creating a framework so that you guys could actually apply it, right? Mindset, mechanics, movement. See, there's plenty of people out there that are training you or coaching you, or plenty of information around any one of those 3 items, right? For instance, the mechanics. If you want to know how to do anything, just open up friggin' YouTube. Like today, I just created a subdomain for my email account and created DNS text, set up the DNS and all this stuff. I didn't know how to do any of that stuff, but how I learned to do all that is I got on YouTube and said, this is what I need to do. And boom, it got taken care of. So the point I'm getting at, folks, hi, Dan. Good to see you. I can find mechanics anywhere, and there's plenty of coaches out there that are training on how to do these things and even coaching you, right? Mentoring you. And we talked about the consulting last week. There's a lot of that. There's plenty of that. And then you've got a whole other camp that really focuses on mindset. There's a camp that focuses on just the mindset. And so they're out here talking about being and the quantum, mechanics of understanding how to, some people would call it manifest, right? Instead of cause and effect, they are causing an effect, right? And so you understand, there's plenty of people that do that kind of coaching as well. Mindset's critical. Some people would say as much as 90% or 80% of your success is going to be a mindset. It doesn't really matter what you think it is, but it's an important factor. I would say it's a third. And then you've got movement. The movement factor. And when I say movement factor, I'm referring to taking action. There's plenty of coaches out here that will help you break free from all kinds of things. And that's where I've been focused most recently, heavily on unpacking how to create movement, right? But the information alone is not going to get you where you want to go. Neither is the implementation necessarily. Now, hear me out. Because implementation usually will only take you so far. What we need to have is integration. All 3, mechanics, mindset, and movement, all working together. How do you do that? What's that path? That's what the Unshakable framework actually does for you. It actually purposefully creates a path to progression by integrating mechanics, mindset, and movement. So let me lay this out for you. At the very top, people that come to me or come to a coach, they say, listen, I want to make progress. I want to make progress in this particular part of my life, whether that's personal or professional, right? And all of you know, you've heard me say it before, I'm Spencer Combs, and I believe that professional development and growth always happens on the back end of personal development and growth, because businesses don't grow. People do. And so when people come to me, they're looking to grow, right? They're looking to get more, and they want to progress. They want to make progress. They want to go somewhere, do more, have more, be more. Well, if you follow the Unshakable framework, if somebody wants progress, the step down from that, what has to happen to create progress is performance. We have to take action. We got to do things, but we got to have high level performance, not just any performance. We got to have high level performance. Well, to have performance, this is the framework, you have to be able to step into your power. Think about this. If you were an actor and you were looking to get on stage and do your performance, your high level performance, you would have to be able to step in to your own personal power. No? Well, when you do that, you can then perform. But there's a mindset and a mechanics to stepping into your power. And then you've got, to get the power, by the way, you gotta have priorities. And I think this is where most of us, in terms of these building blocks, we're talking about the path to progression, right? If I want to progress, I gotta perform. Before I can perform, I gotta step into my power. If I don't know how to step into my power because I don't know what my power actually looks like or what I need, then I'm missing on my priorities. And I think there's a great deal of people out there that are, this is the biggest challenge. As a matter of fact, it's my biggest challenge. It has always been my biggest challenge. Focus is a challenge. That's why I just signed up for a program. Yeah, I just signed up for a program that cost me as much as my Jeep. Why? To create friggin' focus, man. Right? To narrow my focus. And I understand it. I got the mindset for it. I've got the mechanics for it. I deployed power now that I know what my priorities are. So anyway, the priorities, they come from the foundational block. That foundational block is purpose. Now, my coach would say that I don't know where he's quoting it from, but he says 87% of the population cannot articulate their own personal focus or purpose. It's a shame. But people go through life just basically meandering and saying, I'm going to do this. I want to make more money. I gotta take care. And they define their purpose based off of the demands in their life. I gotta pay my bills. I gotta survive. Guys, that's mid-level thinking, and you're not going to be able to move forward. So if the path to progression begins with purpose, how do we get into purpose? Now, if we were drawing this out, you'd see that mindset mechanics, we've been dealing with that on all these 5 Ps, these 5 blocks. Whether they're stumbling blocks or building blocks, they're there. If I'm going to get into my purpose, it's not going to happen because I just name it and go along. For most people, a purpose just doesn't manifest itself out of nowhere. Yes, I do believe that some people have calling, but I think that even if you look in scripture, you'll find that most of the people that were called were busy working, doing something. So the path to progress, right, begins with purpose. And if that's the case, how do I get purpose? You got to get into movement. You got to act. You got to do. And your purpose shows up. Now, I know this is kind of deep and, feels a little esoteric, but the truth is that this is what's causing a lot of people not to get what they want in their life because they don't know, they can't articulate their purpose. Today, we lined up or mapped it out with the 4 elements of purpose drive, right? Creating drive, creating movement. We mapped it out and it comes at the intersection of decisions and dreams. And when your decisions and your dreams are in alignment, right? The pain and the pleasure, when they align themselves, you find yourself you become a driver. You're no longer a drifter. When you become a driver, you then go right into that path to progression. So I don't know necessarily where you're stumbling right now. If you're looking for a place to start, usually the conversation is first recognizing the drift you're in and then getting into drive. And I've talked about that a lot. We do this at the Unshakable Masterclass as well, right? We actually take you through that process to help you create drive and get into drive so that you're driving. Because once you're driving and you have a clear, identifiable purpose, then you can establish your priorities. Follow this, guys. If you've been taking notes. Once you've got your purpose, you can start establishing your priorities. When you establish your priorities, you can then step into your power. And when you step into your power, and we teach all this stuff, but once you get into your power, you can perform at a much higher level. Once you performed at a higher level, progression is the natural outcome. You'll get wherever you want to go. But you have to integrate the mechanics, the mindset, and the movement. It's a lot, I know. And that's why I'm going to write it in the book and make it a little, I'm going to keep simplifying this. Those of you who've been sticking around with me for the last about 3 years or so have seen this get more and more clean. And that's what we're doing here. That's what we're doing. I'm excited about it. So here's what I want to share with you. I had an agent earlier this week that we had our first coaching session. And when she looked at the real estate reset course, she was a little overwhelmed at first because it was, this conversation around making contacts and doing that kind of thing. And she thought to herself, oh shit, I've just signed up for another program and all they're going to worry about is the numbers. What she found out very quickly once we got on our one-on-one, she was drifting. And we had to find a way to get her in drive. Because you're never going to do the activities necessary to grow a business until you know you're in drive and you have a reason to bother. And the conversation went in a completely different direction, and she is so excited. If you're not excited about what you're doing right now, folks, reach out to me. Let's have a conversation. I would love to talk to you and see what we can do to help you out. I'm also in the process of building taking the Unshakable HQ, turning it into the Unshakable Edge program so that it's a monthly setup that's a little bit more palpable for more people, because the more people we have, the more the merrier. It's a lot more fun. But I love what we're doing. And lastly, if you're a leader and you're looking for someone to bring in a message that's going to help galvanize the group and integrate the mechanics necessary to move them forward, the mindset necessary to move them forward, and get them in drive so that they're moving, reach out to me. It'd be a good thing for you and your organization. So, with all that being said, I'm Spencer Combs. This has been episode 66 of Spencer Uncensored. No F-bombs tonight. It's been kind of nice doing it out here in this park. I'm going to walk back towards my house. You guys have been quiet. Any questions, thoughts, things I can help you guys with? If not, I'm going bye-bye. I'll see you guys on the internet world. All right. Y'all have a good night.